Hey there, real quick, I just want to say today is your absolute last chance to take advantage. We have our Cyber Monday deal with 40% off coaching packages, an exclusive Colossus Fitness hoodie. You get access to our New Year's challenge, which is incredible with so many prizes. You will not want to miss out on this because it is our greatest deal of the year. So all you have to do is message us to our Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit, saying Cyber Monday, and we can't wait to help some of you awesome people.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
This is Motivation Monday. Let's get you fired up, answer some of the questions you amazing people submitted, as well as share some quotes and just what's on our mind this week. And we have a jam-packed, fun episode. Also, I think a lot of people will resonate with the questions in here because Thanksgiving just passed. Hopefully that went phenomenal for you. You used the tips for Thursday. You stayed on track. But even if you didn't, the great news is we have a tool with you with the first question of today's episode. So we're going to jump right into that. And that is, I unfortunately went off track this past weekend for Thanksgiving. And I'm looking to get back on track. But I can't help but feel like I lost tons of progress and am beating myself up over it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, and this is honestly something that does happen, right? Especially if you haven't listened to the Thursday episode, or even if you had the right intentions and you said, I'm going to have a game plan, and then something came out that just like had you fall off track. It could have been another family member. It could have just been instincts too, right? Of where like, hey, this is what I'm used to doing. And you may feel like you slipped up. So my first and most important thing is just don't beat yourself up. I see so many people who make things way worse than it needs to be because they just end up hating themselves for it, right? They're just like, man, I've been working so hard. I can't get back to where I was. I'm 4 pounds heavier. And that just doesn't help at all. And one of my biggest and best tips for any of you, no matter what you're going through, is spend time reflecting, right? Because it's so easy to say, hey, go out there, do 20,000 steps today, go make up for it and just, crush it this week. And you give all these tips, right? But nobody will actually spend time thinking of like what caused them to go overboard, how they felt when they went overboard, how they're feeling right now, maybe some things they could implement going forward to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I really, really recommend spending time with yourself. Like you could just spend time with a pen and paper. I could talk with Josh. You could talk with your coach if you have one. Like whatever the case is, when you actually spend time reflecting, it allows you to make the changes necessary going forward instead of just like moving on. Like, because sometimes you won't learn from it too, right? And for some people who they may have problems with food addictions and stuff like that, which we'll talk about in this next Thursday episode. It's going to be an amazing one, so make sure to tune into that. It's just spend time thinking, where did I go wrong? Was it, did I not listen to Kyle and Josh's first plate rule where it's like fill it up with protein? Was I too intrigued with the pie and I started with that, right away, and I should have spend time thinking, and that is my personal biggest tip, and I want to leave you with that one mainly.
Great tips there from Kyle, and I think there's a lot of elegance in this question because I even love the note of I feel like I've lost tons of progress and am beating myself up over it. So one big thing that's been on top of my mind, and it's like a mindset shift that is, I think, really blessed me and helped me, is understanding that what we can't control or change is the past. It's so easy to go, oh, I'm an idiot. Why did I keep eating that dessert? I didn't need that. I was in my calories. I did everything right. And everything just went off the rails there, or whatever it is. It's so easy to say, if only I didn't do this, or I didn't go out with my friends after, or this dessert place was no good. Instead, you got to actually just reflect. And I think Kyle nailed it there. And even one of my clients, he said he nailed his macros. We're just getting back into getting started. Shout out Jeremy. And he said he had some additional snacking. But what I loved is he said, I thought about it, journaled about it, figured out why it happened, and we'll course correct. And to me, that's what's up. If you make a mistake, you're human. You're going to make them. There's no point beating yourself up over it. And I think people will have this self-talk of like, I'm a failure, I can't do it, I'm a disappointment, I can't stick to a diet. And that's not how you want to talk. If you were looking at someone else, like a friend who's in the same situation and maybe they messed up, you'd say, hey, you can improve. Like, where did you go wrong? What would you do differently? So treat yourself the same. I love that quote that's like, you should treat and talk to yourself the same same way you would talk to others, because I think that's a great way to do it, especially if you do have a lot of self-negative talk. And I think with that too is also accepting that you messed up. It's human, it's okay, it's natural to mess up. And if you do, instead of denying it and just staying on a bender and being like, oh, it wasn't that bad, I'll figure it out next week, just say, okay, I did mess up. Where did I mess up? Hit the journal and understand, like Kyle said, how you could course correct for next time. The next time you'll have a new tentative plan and you'll work off of the last one, and either you'll succeed or things will still go awry. And if they still don't go according to plan, you have the opportunity to readjust again and again. And life is fluid, life is dynamic. I don't think you can ever do things exactly 100% perfect. New challenges will arise. There'll be new situations. Life is fluid and changes as well, so that will create its own difficulty, right? So the more you can just be aware and accepting of this is the ability that no matter what happens, you'll have the capacity to still have success and be in a good place there.
I really think that reflection thing, like I wanted to spend time on that because no matter what happens in our life, like let's just say a random example, you lose your temper on someone. It's so easy to just like not want to think about that because it could be embarrassing because, you know, you were in a tough situation and like you want to keep moving forward, which is understandable. But when you can spend time thinking, hey, why did I lose my temper? What was going on? How was I feeling? What did this other person make me feel? Like it's obviously deep, but at the same time, I feel like we can't really fix mistakes or problems unless we actually spend time thinking about it with like a good brain. And what I mean by that is like without tons of distractions, right? Because if I sat there and I'm like, okay, I messed up and I had 1,000 calories over this many days and I'm distracted with my TV and with others and all that stuff, like it's hard to think properly. And so I really believe like if you just, once again, turn your music off, you know, get true with your thoughts, it can help you just make changes going forward. And this goes for anything, right? You end up happening to overdrink, or, you know, you make these little mistakes. It's just like, hey, let's address it. But like on that note, my biggest thing is just keep moving forward, right? Because a lot of people will end up making the mistake of trying to make up for it, and they'll end up decreasing their calories the next day or going out and doing endless cardio. And then like that's all they're thinking about is I need to make up for it. I need to make up for it. But this is actually a really unhealthy relationship with movement as well. And same with food. If you're constantly like, you know what, I need to make up for it, you end up sometimes having a negative relationship, because what you end up doing is whenever you happen to go overboard, if there is a time where you either decide to or it happens, then that's all you're going to think about is go to the treadmill and go do 2 hours of cardio, or the next day just decrease my calories to next to nothing. And I remember I actually made this mistake early on when I was getting ready for a physique show, and I remember spending hours the next day. It was at a Good Life Fitness, and I was just trying to work off all the extra food, and it just got so bad because what happened the next time this took place was the exact reaction was, okay, go back to that gym and do that. And even when you try to like make up for it by decreasing your calories, it messes you up, because even the time that I did this, and I know from personal experience, I was so hungry because the next day I was like down to like 1,000 calories, let's say, to try to make up for it, that the day after was much worse because I was so hungry, because I was trying to restrict myself. So moral of the story is, once again, reflect, but at the same time, try not to change anything drastically, because you don't want to create unhealthy relationships and you don't want to have to make things even worse.
Yeah, and on that note of feeling like losing all your progress, the fastest way to lose all your progress is to continue it and make it a cycle. The more you can isolate that day or that event, and one thing I've always loved is the attitude of never miss twice. If you have a bad day, say I'm going to have a perfect week, and next weekend's going to be perfect as well. I'm going to be back in rhythm. And that's how you can negate a lot of the negative components of that event. And I mentioned recently too, one of the biggest mistakes we make is that we think only the things we want to count. So if we have a good day, we think it's going to cause us to have a ton of amazing progress. And if we have a bad day, we think, okay, it can't take away that much progress. So unfortunately, if you really overdo it, you can definitely decimate like a week or a few weeks of progress. But that's not to say it's the end of the world, because like I said, if you can adjust and minimize that and be realistic, and even with clients, I'll have discussions like, okay, do you want to go 1,000 calories over for Thanksgiving? And if so, this might undo like a week of our dieting progress. Are you comfortable with that? And some people will say, sure, I don't mind that for the day. Then you can kind of go about that guilt-free. So I think the more you can be tactical and be in control, as opposed to just being like at the whim of your just wanting to eat anything and just overdoing it, that's one of the best things. An additional tip to really maximize like progress after an event like this is, like I said, journal, find a solution, or better yet, have accountability. When you have someone on your side, it's very calming as well, because you have someone that you can say, this happened, what do I do? And it takes the emotion out of it, because like Kyle said, generally when there's something that happens, there's a reaction to that. So when you have a really bad day, you want to have a super good day. Then you overdo it, you're on the treadmill, you're not eating anything enjoyable, you eat super clean for 3 days, and then it becomes this cycle where you're like going between two extremes of good and bad, and instead we want to learn to have that balance and utilize that freedom formula style of eating. And the best way you can do that is by having a coach, having an accountability partner, whatever works for you. Like obviously the coach is going to be the best and fastest way to do that. And I know it's harder sometimes having an accountability partner with nutrition, but if you have someone who's dieting and they're doing it the right way and they actually understand how to do it, that can be good motivation as well, because you can both brainstorm. They could say, hey, I used to struggle with Thanksgiving and then I tried this tip, like the veggie tip really made a difference. And maybe if it's a friend or a family member, it's someone who's in that same social circle who can be on your team there at these events. I think even announcing it at the events in future, like, hey guys, I'm on this goal, I'm trying to be my best, healthiest self so I can be my happiest self for all of you. Hold me accountable, don't let me do anything too crazy. And like when you know people are watching you too, it's just easier to stick to your guns. So just some additional tips there. But yeah, like I said, even if you did mess up, one other thing I like to say to my clients is, for clients that will just stack good months and months and they'll have a weird week or a weird day, I'm like, hey, the sum of your actions here, like bulk of this year, you've been dialed in, like one bad week in a year of good weeks, right? It's like what you do more matters more as well. So it's not to say that you can just go crazy for a week, because you can still do a lot of damage, unfortunately, and it sucks that way. But in general, you just want to aim that you're winning more than you're missing, and that's how you can actually be in the progress category.
Yeah, and even like we're humans, right? We know everyone has Thanksgiving, Christmas events, parties, like all that stuff coming up. So what we really do aim to do as best as possible is get into our clients' lives before these events, so it doesn't have to feel like, oh my gosh, I just went overboard and I feel like I just went backwards. So we'll have these honest discussions, going back to that Thursday episode where we're saying, hey, like, how are you feeling about this? Like, what events do you have? You know, which Thanksgiving days are the most important to you? Like, what do you foresee being a challenge? And so we're able to make an adjustment for our clients. So if we do give them extra calories, whether it's like a little bit of a bump for that weekend, and just meeting them where they're at, right? Because some people will have different thoughts and different things that are more valuable to them, whether it's a work Christmas party they've been looking forward to all week or all year, or just like a birthday thing. Like, it's cool because we can actually meet them where they're at, so they can conquer these events and be like, hey, I'm actually seeing progress, or I feel really good about the decisions I made. And then even after some of these events, like whether some of them go perfect or there are some where, hey, we can learn something from, it is definitely assuring having that accountability after. Because even if the scale bumps up, let's say a certain point, like I'm able to actually get in there and talk to them and give them the proper feedback that they need, instead of someone just being like, oh my gosh, I just gained 5 pounds, I'm never losing it again. It's like, okay, let's take a look at where the calories were. Let's take a look at how hard it is to gain 5 pounds in one day. And like having that actual support, that someone who cares, does really make a big difference. So I just want to say this, and it's going to be my last time saying it, that Cyber Monday, it is an incredible deal. If you feel like you need accountability during the toughest times, this is your chance, because on average throughout months like December and whatnot, people will gain over 10 pounds, which is not fun to see. So for you to not only not gain 10 pounds, but just like actually make progress, it'll be absolutely incredible. And you'll be able to start January the strongest you physically can at the best possible deal. So this is going to be way better than any New Year's promo, anything like that. If you're thinking about getting accountability, if you want support to make progress during the holidays, and what I will say is during the holidays, you'll be able to enjoy foods. Like I'm not going to have you on a meal plan like some coaches where it's broccoli, chicken, and rice. You're going to be able to go to these events, know you're going to see incredible progress, have a great time socializing, and just be able to eat your favorite food. So if that sounds like something you're interested in while making progress, Cyber Monday, message us and we'll guarantee your results.
Yeah, don't miss out here because you're going to get all the value of our one-on-one custom coaching, custom nutrition, custom accountability, support, encouragement, community. You're going to get every tool and resource we have available. And if you love the free advice we give, you love tuning in with us, imagine when we're working one-on-one, we know your exact situation and we can help you thrive through any obstacle that comes your way. This is your best chance to get the most value, as well as one of our brand new limited edition hoodies. You cannot buy these. They're only for clients, and most generally they're reserved for our clients who have been in the program, who have seen the longest time, who've seen the most results, who have shown the most commitment. But this is your opportunity to enter, get in, show us that you're excited and committed and you want to just succeed through the holiday season. So do not miss out on this Cyber Monday to ColossusFit. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into our quotes. And I'm going to start with mine. And my quote is from the legend himself, КАИ GREENE. He's like a bodybuilding legend. He used to always compete with Phil Heath back in the day. So I guess he's one of the legends, right? You can go way back with the legends to the OGs like Arnold and all those amazing guys. But when I was kind of coming up, it was the big battles between КАИ GREENE, Jay Cutler, and Phil Heath. Those were like kind of the big three, if you will. And КАИ GREENE was like always a beast. He kind of looked like, you know, in Predator, like Alien vs. Predator, he had that like dreads. He was a tank. He just looked like a monster, right? But he also was someone who was like super into like aesthetics and arts and other interesting things like that, I remember. But he has a quote that is, bodybuilding is an art. Your body is the canvas. Weights are your brush, and nutrition is your paint. We all have the ability to turn a self-portrait into a masterpiece. And why I love this quote is, I think comparison is the thief of joy with physiques, and we'll talk about this more with a future question. But everyone wants what they don't have. Everyone who's tall and skinny thinks, oh, if I was a little bit shorter, I'd be like stockier, my muscle would show easier. And then someone who's short is like, oh, I wish I was taller and I had longer muscle bellies and I had more oomph to my size. And then some of the big chests will be like, oh, I wish I had bigger legs. And some of the big legs will say, I wish I had big chests. It's always funny, right? Like the grass is always greener. But I love this component of like your own individual version of you. There's going to be a lot of things you like about yourself. There's going to be things you wish you could improve or like were others. But I think when you want to build the best physique, you're best to start with yourself and really aim to optimize around what's realistic for you. Like, what kind of body type do you have? Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? Where do you want to put more effort? And that's how you can truly build the best physique. And on top of this, I love the mention that the body's the canvas, weights are the brush, and nutrition is the paint, because all these things need to pair together to work, and by themselves, they don't work together to create an art piece or a masterpiece, if you will. So you have the component to do that by isolating these factors, taking them seriously, and really just working off of yourself, pushing towards improvement. And it's absolutely amazing what you can create. And it's kind of like, like it's an abstract quote for sure, but I do think it's also very elegant for how simple it is, because I assure you, no matter where you are, even if you feel like you're far away from the progress you want to see or you're not happy with your physique, I think you'd be blown away with what you can do. And that's one thing I love about being an online fitness coach, is I'm able to help people all around the world just like build the best bodies they've ever had. And like, it's such a rewarding feeling when there's like people in their 50s or their 60s and they're like, I look better than I did in high school, or my energy's through the roof, or I can't believe the compliments I'm getting, or I've never looked this amazing in my clothes. Like, those are just such amazing wins. And it really doesn't have to be hard. Like, we sign our emails off with it doesn't have to be hard, because it really doesn't need to be. And this is where we specialize. So I think if you're really overthinking all these things, right? Like, here's where you can get help, and you can actually have us walk you through all this, hold your hands to make that art piece. And it definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and even just my quote, I feel like is pretty applicable to anyone like the greats, such as КАИ GREENE, right? Proud but never satisfied. So this is a very simple quote, but I've just been thinking about it, and it also relates to the future second question, which you guys will hear us answering shortly. So stay tuned for that. But I feel like when it comes to anything in life, we need to be able to be appreciative of how far we've come from the very beginning, but at the same time, always be able to try to move forward and to be looking forward, right? To continue to make progress. Now, I see a lot of mistakes within this quote where some people will never be able to appreciate how far they've come, and they're just always wanting more. And that, to me, is kind of the enemy of success, right? Because you're just never proud and you just keep going and you end up being unhappy afterwards. Now, at the same time, I will see some people who are just so proud, and I'm like, you have more improve. Like we can keep hitting new numbers, we can keep hitting some new milestones. And a lot of people do become complacent where they just will never do anything again. And they're like, all right, that's it. And then there's never anything that's exciting, nothing to look forward to. There's no innovation. And this goes for anything, right? Not just fitness goals, but if you're looking to start a new venture, set any sort of goals, you have to be able to appreciate how far you've come, but know that we need to keep moving the goalpost a little bit further and further just to be able to keep us excited, to keep us like trying new things. So this is just a friendly reminder on your fitness journey to be able to focus on those accomplishments, be proud of yourself. Even recently, I had a client send me some photos, and when I shared with her, I was just like, honestly, when you look at the first photo to now, like you should be proud of yourself. But at the same time, like she still has some more incredible goals. She has a trip she's looking forward to. She's going to have an anniversary outfit that she wants to get into. And like, that's what's so cool is when you have these things on your journey where you're like, I'm proud of myself. You know, I've lost 30, 40 pounds, but I've got this next destination I want to get to. That's what's going to allow you to keep pushing forward. So I thought this was very fitting, and that's going to be my quote for today.
Yeah, I think also, like, for my thoughts, I think a lot of these segue quite nicely into the second question. A lot of these questions are very thought heavy, so I'm excited to further dive into those. For myself, I can't say I've had anything too crazy on my mind. I've been sticking to rhythm, really enjoying that, really pushing it. How about yourself?
Yeah, the other day I saw it was going to be a nice day, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out for a 6-hour walk. And so I left at 6:40 a.m., got back at 12:40 p.m. and it was great. So basically this came from something I did like years ago, which was the 12-hour walk from this guy, Colin O'Grady. He just came up with it. And, you know, the whole principle is just to become clear, just to spend time with yourself, with your thoughts, and just be fully present. So I found 6 hours to be more manageable. I think I did 21 miles. And the main and biggest takeaway was just to ask myself, like, going forward, how can I do something like this to a lesser degree consistently, right? So Josh had a good point recently where it was a no input walk. So this is just like each day trying to get out there and just be fully present and just no audio, no scrolling, no answering emails, nothing like that. And like the main thing I found was just that I'm able to be so much more clear. You know, if I spend like 30 minutes just trying to come up with like a really good episode and like plan things and just be fully present, and like I'm actually giving 100% focus versus like 6 hours of just like, you know, my daughter's there and I'm like talking to people back and forth and I got a video in the background. It's going to take me so much more time. So my main goal and biggest takeaway just from this is just going forward, just trying to figure out a way to integrate that real silent and just like full focus time, because man, it feels so incredible, especially in such a busy world. I feel like your thoughts can be so much more clear. Even the ideas I was coming up with, I just felt really, really good about it. And it's because I was bored, right? I was just forcing myself like to come up with things and to be present. And I was like, when you're bored, that's when you are actually able to come up with some really good ideas and just, you know, be fully present. So I thought it was a really cool challenge.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. And the no input walk is amazing. I mean, I love self-growth. I love reading. I love audiobooks. I love podcasts. And sometimes I almost got to tell myself, whoa, chill, because it's so easy to jump from podcast to audiobook to video to phone to always need that stimulus. So I think even training yourself and like trying to bring yourself down from that stimulus. And that's something even I've been working on, is just like trying to be on my phone less when I am, be intentional, being off social media. And I just feel like it's a great reset for my brain. Like I can feel myself having less of that itch to run and jump towards things. So I think that is a great thing to identify, and these little challenges are good. And I think Kyle's really come on to something pretty genius where he said, like, how can I do these things that are like a 10 out of 10 excitement or intensity on a lesser scale? So even we like watching UFC, and he's like, hey, in your area, there's this little local boxing event, and it was like $60 tickets, but you get to sit pretty close. It's going to be really live, really intense. And it's like, it's still a really fun similarity to that big thing we like that would be a bigger experience, travel, like all these different components to it. And just the same, instead of a 12-hour walk, you could say, I love that idea. I want to push myself. I never go on a walk, but I'm going to do 30 minutes, no input. Like even for you, that could be such a good start. And I think even just taking small steps and still implementing, and once again, not necessarily needing to do the craziest things, but also at the same time, sometimes doing those crazy things can really make a statement and really make a impact in your life, right? Like that 12-hour walk, that's something that could make a massive, whoa, or doing a powerlifting meet. But just the same, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I've never lifted barbells, I'm going to start lifting barbells. So you can really look at it either which way. And I think everyone has a different mindset, and some people really find these extremes kind of click them into gear, and some people like those baby steps. But I do think they're all tools in your tool belt that you can play with and utilize to find more success.
Yeah, and even like from the 12 hours previously, our client Ellen, she had shared in one of my recent videos, she was like, hey, I got inspired from that before. I went out into 2 hours and I just felt so amazing. So that's where I think it's so cool just to be able to take these things and like figure out how you'd want to integrate it and be able to just implement and try it out. And you never know until you try, right? Like I'm guilty of sometimes being out there on my phone, just walking around. I don't even notice anything. Like I was just so distracted. So just some small things that I want to get better at. And one of my biggest observations there.
Awesome. And now we need to celebrate. We have a client shout out, someone who's been in a program, who's been crushing it, seeing amazing results that we want to showcase with you. And we love doing this because you got to listen to other people's secrets. And all the time people say to me, what's the secret, man? And I'll tell them like all the things I believe, right? Like using the freedom formula style of eating, training consistently, like when you fall down, getting back up, just continuing to take steps in the right direction, like very, very basic things. And people go, okay, that's awesome, but what supplements do you take? Or what workout split do you do? Do you keep like people reach for these crazy things, but like every week we're showing someone who is just like you, who was unsure, who wasn't succeeding, who signed up with us, made that investment, and what their breakthrough was to see progress. So it's always good to listen to these and reflect on these, and we post them on our Instagram in greater detail. So you can actually head to our Instagram, see the additional tips, see the transformations. And what's awesome is there'll be people just like you. There'll be people that are skinny and need to gain muscle. There'll be people that are severely overweight. There'll be people that are kind of fit that used to be varsity athletes that just don't have the edge anymore, and how they rediscovered it. So it's really important you pay attention to these things. These are little gold mines, and you don't want to look past them.
Yeah, what's really cool is this is a bit of a different transformation shout out. So basically what we want to do is put together some absolutely insane transformations. We've got about 10 of them, which you'll be able to see some of them on the screen here. And then some of them will also be on Instagram. So you'll be able to take a look at those incredible ones. But what's really cool about today's shout out is that it goes super well with my quote, proud but never satisfied. So every single one of these people, they got some great momentum, and I truly believe momentum is everything. That's a thought I had on my 6-hour walk. I was like, I didn't want to do it, but then once I got going, I kept going. And for all of these amazing success stories, they started to see momentum and change, and they got addicted to the results. And even in the first 90 days, let's just say for Ryan as an example, he lost 30 pounds. It would have been very easy for him to be like, all right, I'm done. Like 30 pounds is awesome, but he was proud, but wanted to accomplish more. And obviously with the help of us, we're able to keep him going, give him new milestones, give him new numbers to hit and all that great stuff. But every single one of these transformations, they push past that part where it's like, you only want to do, some people would be like, hey, I want to lose 15 pounds. It's like, that's awesome. We got them there. And they're like, hey, let's keep going. And obviously we kept pushing them to new levels and to new heights. And the truth is, like, when people come in here, they end up accomplishing more than they ever thought possible, because a lot of times you have that mindset of just like, oh, I can only lose 10 pounds. And once again, 10 pounds is a great accomplishment, but when you start to see what's possible and you just have the numbers in front of you and just the right accountability and all that stuff, it really does make such a big difference. So that's honestly one of the biggest secrets for all of these ones, is that they were super happy. They're like, hey, let's keep going. Let's go for another 3 months, another 6 months, another 12 months. But they still were hungry to see more success, to fit into that next outfit, to be down that next 10-pound interval or the next notch on their belt or whatever the case is. So whoever's listening to this, you have so much potential. Yes, you can lose 10, 20, like you can lose so much weight and build so much muscle. You just have to have the right accountability and the right systems. And of course, we'll get you there with the Cyber Monday promo.
Masterfully said there. Now we're going to get into our second question, and that is, how does one get over body dysmorphia while still getting after a fit look? No matter how hard I try, I feel like I'm not good enough.
Yeah, and this is something relatable. And it was funny because back when we started lifting, there was a guy called Bro Science Life. It was quite funny. And he had a quote that really, like, to this day, I still remember and I find pretty applicable. And it is, the day you started lifting is the day you became forever small, because you'll never never be as big as you want to be. And I'm just thinking back, I'm like, man, it's so true because even like as much progress as I've made, I'm just like, I want to keep going. I want more, right? Like on the quote of being proud but never satisfied. But now where a lot of people go wrong is they just will consistently compare themselves to other people. They'll never appreciate their wins or how far they've come. And they're just constantly thinking the worst of themselves. You know, they look in the mirror, they've made some great progress. Like you've been showing up for yourself. You've been super consistent. And you look and you're like, well, my arms aren't as big as so-and-so, or like, you know, I don't look like this other girl who has bigger glutes in the gym. And so like what I will say, and Josh had mentioned, like comparison really is the thief of joy. So one of the easiest ways to get over it is just to not compare yourself, realizing that every person has a different lifestyle, a different body. We all have different genetics. And the day that you can use people as motivation. Don't get me wrong. When I see Josh having 4 plates on the bar and 10 today, and I'm like, okay, cool. That's pushing me to up my weight a bit. But it's like a lot of people will have things that they look at in other people, but they'll just use it to put themselves down, which is completely backwards. Like you should use it as motivation and be like, dude, that person's crushing it. I want to get to their level. Let's go. And then I think the main thing is the credit part, right? Because a lot of people just like treat themselves really poorly and they're just like, oh, well, I have a flabby stomach and nobody wants me. Like at the same time, like you really have to be able to consistently remind yourself and catch yourself. It's such a powerful thing. So whenever you notice that you have these negative thoughts, you really have to be able to be like, you know what, that's not true at all. And then my last biggest point is just realizing how great your body is and all the amazing things it does and being able to start to pinpoint that stuff. Because if you're constantly trying to be as positive as possible and you're looking for things, it's going to be really hard to just be negative and to focus on all the bad stuff. So if you're like lifting something up and you're like, dude, like my shoulders are strong, that's great. You know, you're pulling open the door and you're like, man, like you just pull it open too hard and you're like, dude, I'm getting stronger. Like, and you start to give yourself these positive things that are taking place. It makes it just so much more enjoyable and you can start to appreciate the smaller things and instead just stop looking at yourself like you're worthless and like all these bad things that a lot of people say. So it's not an easy thing, but if you work on it, if you pay attention to it, going back to journaling on it, if you spend time thinking, spending time with your thoughts and like noticing what's going on, I do believe it can help.
Yeah, a lot of different reflections and points here, and Kyle had some really phenomenal tips, which is absolutely great. And I think even flipping this question on its head, like when you start to feel like you're not good enough, I think you can definitely spend time thinking, why am I good enough? Where am I seeing progress? How am I better than I was? And it's so easy to want to turbo to this imaginary destination of like, when I look this way, my physique's is perfect form. Like it's never going to happen. I assure you, I've been to so many points. I think even retroactively, like a look where I took photos or whatever, and I thought, oh, I wanted to be leaner at that time until I took more photos. And then when I'm less lean, I'm like, oh, I wish I took more photos. And the time where I was bulky and huge, right, I'll be like, oh, I feel like I'm too big. It doesn't look good. And then sometimes when I'm really lean, I'm like, oh, I wish I looked bulky and big. So I think the more you can just be like confident with where you are, really enjoy the process, really highlight where you are seeing progress, why you are good enough. It's like, I'm training hard, I'm seeing progress, my waist got tighter and my legs got bigger, like I'm putting on muscle, my nutrition's better, my sleep's better. Like you can celebrate a lot of these wins, or you can go the opposite route and say all the reasons why you're not good enough. I think body dysmorphia as well, like where most of it will come is like, especially I think when people take photos of themselves and it doesn't look like the people you see on Instagram. Like Instagram in particular, I think is where a lot of people go wrong. And one thing you really need to keep in mind is like when people take photos, like lighting will make you look like two different people. If you're a natural lifter as well, a pump is crazy. I remember one time Kyle took a photo of me because he got me these really cool sunglasses for Christmas that are really nice. I was in the gym. It was a rest day. I was just chilling, not really doing anything. I was just doing like cardio. He took a photo of me in my tank top and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look skinny. Like it's crazy because normally if he takes a photo of me in the gym, I'm pumped up, I'm looking good. It's an astonishing difference, right? So it's like, if you just take a photo of me when I wake up in a weird angle and the lighting sucks, like I'm going to look horrible. Like it's just, it is what it is. Just the same, if I dry myself out, I pump up, we have killer natural light, he puts some edits on it, like I'm going to look like a monster. So I think too many people like compare, and I'm like a very fit person, right? So too many people compare these things. A lot of the times two people will peak and get ready for shows and they'll look this way for a day. Then you'll see them off season. You'll be like, does this person even work out? So Comparison is a thief of joy, and the more you compare yourself to others, the worse it'll be. Unrealistic expectations are a big part of this, especially when photos are over edited, videos are over edited. Sample sizes, if you're constantly looking at the most elite people in this world for fitness and health with the most elite genetics, the biggest work ethics, like you're going to be upset if you're comparing yourself to that standard. And I think realistically, the only person you should be comparing yourself to is who you were yesterday. So instead, you want to look at where you were. Are you seeing progress? Are you putting in that work, and control the factors you are to move forward? And I think the more you do that, the more you'll come at peace with it. And I think obviously too, the longer you lift, the more comfortable you are in your skin, the more you'll appreciate it too. And the more you understand like what's realistic, how the body works, how transformations work. And then also getting to a point where you're happy with your physique. Like for me, I genuinely am happy. I can't say there's like, I like pushing and I want to be incrementally better always, but I don't have any big desire to change anything drastically.
Yeah. And even on that note, I feel like it's needed that I should be saying, you don't want to, going back to all these nice things I was saying, like you also at the same time do want to be honest with yourself. So there have been some points in my journey, like I am genuinely happy now. And once again, still want more. But there have been times where I've looked in the mirror and I've been like, you know what, like this is unacceptable. Like I'm going to do something about it. And that's very different than someone who's just like, let's say you lose 20 pounds, you're making progress and you still feel like you're not enough. Like that's where a lot of people struggle. But let's say if you have 20 pounds to lose, but you're not putting in the work to do it and you're overeating, like there is something to be said about just being fully honest and saying, hey, this isn't right. Like I've let myself go and I'm going to get to it. And like, I think there is still, you can't like lie to yourself at the same time. Like you shouldn't be just saying, oh, I'm making great progress and I'm looking great, and just like keep telling yourself if you want to get better and you want to lose weight, because like some people disguise that, right? Like you have these positive affirmations, you'll say all this stuff, but then you won't actually put in the work because you're like, I'm enough, but you still have so much potential and you know you want to lose 20 pounds. And even for myself, like I've done different things where I would bulk up for a powerlifting thing. I remember last year I gained 20 pounds. I look at photos and I'm like, I'm kind of cringing, to be honest. I'm like, hey, it was still good. I hit some good numbers, but I'm like, hey, I got to be honest with myself. Like I need to lose this weight. I'm not happy with where I'm at. And I did it, right? And that's good motivation. But at the same time, if I was just like, no, like you are enough, like you're strong, so like, take the things I'm saying, apply it to how you see fit. But at the same time, like if you are making progress, you should be rewarding. You should be able to tell yourself that, and you should be able to accept that. And I just wanted to add that because, you know, when you're making progress, you should be able to appreciate that. And that is one of the most important things for sure.
Yeah, I think that's David Goggins' whole thing. He said, like, if you look in the mirror or something and you say, like, I'm fat, like, it's a harsh truth, and I don't think you need to be so negative to yourself. But if that works for you, like, even me sometimes, like, well, not lately, but at least in the past, like when I found myself slipping and I'd feel this big push, like, I don't like where I am. I don't feel my best. My clothes don't fit right. Like, you got to act on that sometimes, right? Like, sometimes these things are like, they're there for a reason. But you'll see too, the more confident you feel in your journey, the more you avoid big misses and you stack consistent wins, the less you'll have this feeling. But sometimes you should use that feeling to say, okay, like I'm actually going to create some real change. Like I have taken my foot on the gas. I've created some negative habits that I need to rework, or I've been skipping the gym and I don't look as big and full as I could. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to act on, but I think when you're doing a lot right and you're still feeling miserable about it, that's where the body dysmorphia more so comes. But I think there's nothing wrong, and like Kyle said, proud but never satisfied. Like even for me, I'm immensely proud of where I am, but I still believe I can do more. I think that makes it fun. I enjoy the journey and I'm less fixated on that destination. So I think those are all some phenomenal tips. And now we'll jump into our third question. How important is stretching after lifting? How much time and effort should be put into stretching, if any?
So yeah, this is a great question. I actually see a lot of people kind of making the mistake of thinking that they need to be doing it in the gym. I've made some different pieces of content on that, saying that to me, stretching is best done when it makes the most sense for you. And I actually came across something. It's a systematic review that was focused on post-exercise stretching, where they found no significant effect of doing it like in the gym versus just doing it at another time, right? And a lot of people feel like they need to be doing it before they leave, which I don't believe is exactly the case or exactly needed. So in my personal opinion, when you are focused on stretching, You can totally do it at any given point. I highly recommend doing it when it's most convenient for you. If you're using a sauna, if you're at home watching a show. And like, to be honest, I do believe that a lot of people, when it comes to flexibility, they kind of take it out of proportion, thinking that, oh my gosh, I need to touch my toes every day and do all this stuff. Whereas like it's been proven that doing full range of motion strength training is actually better for you in terms of helping with flexibility. So it's kind of backwards for some people. So I'm saying don't neglect it. I do believe it has its purpose, but at the same time, where it gets tough, even with stretching, is that a lot of times people will just take shortcuts, thinking of the classic arm across the chest. It's such a simple exercise where you don't really push yourself. It's very like low energy. You're just not really doing a whole lot. So I really do recommend trying to do things that will actually challenge you. And I'm actually a really big fan of stuff like deep tissue work, whether you use a massage gun. I use a lacrosse ball consistently, and that really helps me. I find just have better ranges of motion and just move my body better. And then obviously massages are great, but yeah, stretching can be a cool tool, but I definitely think it's, in my opinion, a little more overrated, as people will do it a lot more than I feel like they need to. And then they'll neglect strength training, they'll neglect mobility and other things. And I do believe mobility has a bigger purpose as well.
Yeah, once again, you'll get a lot of benefit doing exercises in a full range of motion, learning to lift in a full range of motion, and then stretching is always a bonus, right? If you can work in some stretching, that is a bonus, but I wouldn't ever do that in place of the weightlifting. So I think people over prioritize this. You can turbo in a lot of stretching in like a yoga class or something like that, or an at-home stretching video. Even for myself, I can't say do a ton of active stretching. Like I'll do more intentional stretches that I know are like more targeted on what I need, and there's some areas I don't spend as much time and energy in towards. So based on your particular situation, there can be more of an opportunity to do that. A lot of people would probably benefit the most doing like a lot of hip stretches and really focusing in on that area, especially if you are very sedentary and seated a lot. But you also will get a lot of benefit once again from learning how to work your posterior chain, doing deadlifts, doing squats, going through these full range of motion, strengthening your glutes. Like you can actually do a lot of phenomenal work there. So doing these things is an active, great thing you should be doing, and then stretching is that bonus on top of it, which I think can be a good tool, but isn't necessarily like a priority, if you will. So just some considerations there. Something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm going to also put together down below just like a YouTube video with 5 different amazing hip mobility exercises alongside other things. I really do feel like these are what will move the needle, especially for a lot of people who have like really tight hips, tight back, tight everything. Like I find when we actually do some more movement, it actually helps us just feel significantly better than just holding these stretches and whatnot. So that's going to be my final takeaway here. So with that, make sure to message us Cyber Monday to our Instagram. I promise you, if you've made it this far, you love our free stuff, you'll absolutely be blown away and love our paid coaching program. We do have a few spots available. We will never have this deal again. I promise you that. Thank you so much. Make sure to share this episode with a friend, with someone who's struggling, with someone who just wants some positive motivation in their week. And we'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.